Hey everyone, back again. Uh, it's going to put part two on the description. However, right it here is part two. Great. Hi. Great to have you back. Thank you for joining today. Much love and gratitude and peace and everything good, of course. Okay, so we left off with yoga benefits, so don't need to go there again. I did see Wayne Millett mentioned in the feed about trying Tai Chi. Yeah, I think Heather said go for it. Yeah, don't hesitate if you feel this. You get into these beneficial experiences, and especially with East Asia and Chinese medicine, where you can access a lot of your energy through those methods as well. It's very real and very valuable. Acupuncture, I had that in the past as an experience. It really works. I did not go into acupuncture with the power of suggestion, meaning knowing that it would work or energizing it to work. However, I went in neutrally to see if it did work, and it did. And I was amazed with it. In this physical vessel, I had a broken ankle, and it alleviated the pain. I went to a therapeutic um, area acupuncture clinic, and yeah, it worked. And so I was impressed with that. So yeah, this stuff works. For the most part, on individuals, some it may not work on, but it worked for I, and it is very beneficial. So if you feel compelled to practice Tai Chi, Kung Fu, any of the martial arts, really, there is great discipline within those as well, and very beneficial with learning more about yourself and your prowess and your abilities and your capacity. I shouldn't say capacity because that may be restrictive. You can go beyond it, so you can be introduced to your abilities at what you can do, but that doesn't mean you're restricted to that you can surpass that yet, especially with this ascension. So, great. Yeah, a little bit of sand in my eye, I guess. Okay, great. Getting back on track. Uh, Next point I had was chemicals and do what you can do to limit. So I put out an article the other day, and we focused on chlorine and chloramine, these things in the water supply, and essentially it's no longer myth when you have agencies like the FDA and the US and scientific communities coming out and delivering the documentation, the confirmation, and the information that this is indeed factual. The toxic effects not only on the genealogy of a human body with the children and everything. And really, it's nonsensical that cities still use, these forms of toxins in their water when the technology again is here to clean water, by ultra blue ray spectrum with the ultraviolet rays, the blue light, how it's so beneficial, just to name one. There are so many other ways of eliminating these chemicals, and that will come to be as well. uh, do we need to clean these things up while we're here? Perhaps some of you do, but the most important thing is to leave behind the information that they do need to be cleaned up. And as the new technology is incrementally integrated into the timelines, released and left here, it will be assured future for multiple futures and also for future generations that it is cleaned up and that it is revealed, for what it is. And we are at levels now that any government or system that is really, putting this in the water supply, there needs to be a lot of questions asked of those agencies that's approving it and allowing it from regular people. It becomes nonsensical to see governments or cities and boards of trustees of the cities or whatever endorsing things that are actually harming the human physique and the human physical and the whole body. So having said that, we keep leaving the truth behind, clean it up, or, it's just having devastating effects on the human body. With that, really, in reality, on the 4D, everything is toxic. Like all the waters, everything is polluted to some degree. So having said this, all you can do is your best, and try to assure that you keep the highest quality of cleaner foods and drink that you can. And I know for many of you that, live in a city, it becomes very difficult because everything you're coming into contact with has chemicals. But again, you only can do your best and know that you do your best. Do not let it be uh, a thing that you begin to feel that you're doing something wrong, that you're not doing enough. But just know that if you're able to do things that will more readily benefit you, that you'll come into that information or that knowing. So don't let it be a hindrance by meaning, oh, I give up with this ascension that, there's just so many chemicals there. Because in reality, once you reach the higher levels of your energetic being, yes, you can cleanse, almost every food. However, you don't wish to be expending that valuable energy constantly at trying to keep the physical vessel clean. So it's more fruitful and it makes more sense to keep it as clean as you can. Then you have more energy to do your divine work with, to advance yourself, advance your consciousness, and to empower yourself. So that is why one of the reasons, that we look at what can be hindrances to the development and evolving humanoid vessel, which is the chemicals, and they're everywhere. But you do have choices to limit them. And with that, again, during this ascension process, your bodies are now it's sped up that your physical vessels can rapidly reproduce new cells. So for a relative gauge and figure, before it would take about 7 years for a human vessel to replenish every cell in the body during a process, because your cells that you have, as you know, they don't, in the past, they don't live forever. You're constantly creating new cells in the physical body. But what occurred, over time, the more you succumbed, the older you got, the more chemicals you're constantly putting in your body, and you were making the cells sicker. And that also creates the aging process to happen much quicker. But with this ascension now, you're able uh, to regenerate every cell in your body at about 3 years, where it used to take 7 years. So we have sped up um, this process to assist with your ascension as well, and getting your body up to par for the multi-dimensional experiences and the ascension of taking a pretty good physical representation of you into the future, into the timelines with a physical vessel intact. So again, you do your best, and that's all you can really do with this at this time. But I can also say that, as some of you I know have been introduced to, that when you are on a higher timeline, that you are different. Some of you looked in the mirror, saw how you regressed your aging, that you took 20, 30 years off, and this does occur. And this is to let you know that it is real and it is possible. However, till we get up to those levels of ascension where you can create instantly how you wish for your physical vessel to be and to look like, there is still that process. So we're still within that. And to facilitate that to the utmost degree, and to expedite um, your progression with evolving the physical vessel, it's good to keep as many chemicals out of it as you can. And now let me say that with that, I'm very happy with this physical vessel I have. It's advanced. Occasionally, I love pastries, and occasionally I'll go and have some pastries. But what I do immediately afterwards is that I'll go with a lot of water, or I love celery, which is a great detox, and pineapple. And, for a few days, I'll detox, if you will, or cleanse, or assure that any of, let's say, the white sugar from the pastry and white flour, that's not having any effect. But I will also say now that what I'm noticing is that for this vessel, that the internal digestive system has evolved enough within certain ones of us at this time, that even though you may be eating something that is kind of like toxic, like white sugar or white flour, your body is actually designed that it's not readily entering the cellular process anymore, that you are actually will pass it out. And this is so important and very beneficial as well, because for any individual, this is very indicative of your physical vessel changing as well. And I do have some more of that written down in the points. I could go into a little bit further with it. But it's also to let you know that, I know at least some, and when it occurs with some, that you don't need as much food anymore. But when I start seeing that with some, I know it's indicative of the collective. Now, there are different levels. There might be some don't need as much food, There might be some, even up here now, a breatharian, that do not require any food, that they have mastered their physical vessel, and all they need is water. And we've been given examples in history that's already been here, of ones that don't require food. And it shows you that it is possible, and part of this ascension is that possibility that you don't require food. And what I'm given is, for the most part, you do need water. It's important for these human vessels. However, with the food, the main reason you eat food is to extract the energy from it to keep you going. However, with the ascension, this is a primitive method where, some of the clues were there with Tesla, that all of the energy is in the air. So when you know how to breathe properly and your physical vessel has evolved to that degree, you can extract from the air through the breathing process in these lungs the energy that you require to keep yourself going forward. And with this physical body, I can attest that over the last several months that I am eating perhaps less than a quarter of what I ate before. There is no physical weight loss to mention, which it should have been, right? But also with this process, your metabolism changes. And in the early stages with this physical vessel, with the metabolism, I found that I was eating more and losing weight as well because your metabolic rate does change with this ascension. Everything is affected. The hormones in your in your body are affected. Everything is with this ascension. Uh, so getting back to your metabolic rate, your metabolism of the conversion of energy or food into energy as well with that is that, yeah, it sped up, it slowed down, to accommodate the human vessel during this evolution of the human vessel. So it begins internally. The human vessel is evolving, as you know, becoming more crystalline. And, some of you have seen, for example, if you get cuts, you've seen your blood uh, taken on. When it begins to scab, you're seeing the crystalline form because this is in the plasma in your blood that you have not seen before. You can use this as one indication. Some others I've seen in the recent past are seeing little granules of like sand-like substance in their beds on their sheets, that's coming out of the physical vessel. It's all very real with it. So your physical vessel is changed. With the energy, you got some that can take with their hands the energy and can make it appear to certain degrees. You can have the actual sparks between your fingertips. These are all very real. Each one is at different levels to what gifts they have turned on. For the most part, I can take my hand. I don't actually see the energy there yet, but I feel it just like this. So it's actually there. And any of you that perhaps practice Reiki and other healing modalities like that, that you feel in your hands the heat or the energy signature. It's real. But what I'm saying is that some are able to uh, add a little bit more to it that you can actually and visually see it. And it's not that everyone has, all of the gifts, and you do have access to all of them. It's just that certain ones, as we keep going along, someone might be able to take the ball of energy while another cannot. But that does not mean that the other does not have that ability. You just don't have that turned on now for divine reasons with it. For example, if you had all of us here with all of our powers, well, this world would change in a heartbeat. And with the divine plan, it's not really supposed to do that. We're securing um, the lower human experiences on a few timelines here while we keep going forward. And that's why one of the reasons why you cannot have all of your energetic divine prowess while you are here. That comes later, but marginally you are building it. And when you go on your 5D timelines, when you're in those, that's when you more readily see some of your own prowess as well. But others from the 4D will not see that if they're not supposed to see it. So there are cool things that go on with that. And one of the things, it's a mechanism to prevent a soul that's here to have, just the human experience uninterrupted, um, by knowing more of the truth. So again, each one of you, we were in like a divine boot camp, if you will, and it was so valuable, the human experiences that we had. But there come the time when you awaken that you no longer need all these human experiences, that you're realizing that you're part of a group that is evolving and moving forward with this ascension, that you actually can do new things and create and have fun with where we're going. Having fun. Now, having said that, it does, while you're still part of this mundane world, feels yucky and distasteful at times. But you've been given the confirmations and indications that this is not the only reality, and that things here are not as it seems for what you are. So you know that this is coming up here, and incrementally and occasionally you are introduced to it, and you're introduced to it in a way that you know that for the human part of the logic, that seeing is believing, seeing or experiencing is believing, and you're given that liberty and opportunity to experience and see it in such a way to alleviate the doubt when you're ready for to do that as well. So cool. Bah, I got rambling on. Okay, what else do I got here? Okay, easier to have an unobstructed path between you and God. Lessen the beliefs because of manifestation. Now, I started in the last video, get on this. This is very important. If you wish to expedite yourself in your gifts, it's best to have one focal point that is, it can be within you, but it's best to have it outside of you. And that focal point is what you could consider prime creator, God, Father, Mother God, whatever you wish. But it's great to have it not real per se part of this reality. It's best to have it outside of this reality that you connect with and go towards, because if you have it in this reality and where you're able to create and manifest here, it can also keep you attached to this reality. So it's very important to, if you wish to expedite your soul's travels back to, really, you don't need to go back right to source, because you're forever going forward. And as Father said to I want it to be back there. He said, Rick, you were bored when you were here. You wanted to get down there. So I said, okay, good. And which it does get boring. So you want to have the experiences. So with this ascension, you also have the experience to take your physical body into the other dimensions, into things that you saw in movies that you thought were fiction. So, and much more than that. So you have these abilities, but also it's so important with so many different beliefs. Even the most important belief of, let's say, Jesus upon the planet, which was a very important belief. You also don't wish for that to restrict yourself, because that was it. That timeline with Jesus also was attributed to another time in the 4D. We wish to ascend where Jesus went to, outside of the 4D. And also, this is what this ascension is about. So having said that, if you keep energizing and thinking, although there's valuable clues there, and it's part of your advancement, but if you keep energizing that and think that things must be this way, that the prophets said, there must be, for example, the seven seals, the trumpets, if you think it must be that way, that you are going to create it. For example, with the sixth seal, it says about war and things. So you have a choice. Do we really need to be a part of that? That was created a long time ago, these timelines, and you do not need to be restricted to it, that you need to play out these roles. You know, they serve a purpose, but what I'm sharing is that you can bypass a lot of these beliefs, and you can do it legitimately by just keeping yourself in your connection with God, and look at these beliefs neutrally, or take what value that you have from them to assist you to go another step forward as well. All beliefs are beneficial, but also, there is much trickery and much manipulation within beliefs. So that's where you need to use your heart in your resonation feature much more discreetly, and discern, what feels right, and use your higher perspective logic, not only your human logic, because human logic there's a certain of dictation and imprint within human logic that it's meant to keep you in a loop, and to keep energizing the mundane. So it's best to not let that restrict you, and to know it's great and beautiful to look at all the beliefs. However, you can complicate things, and you can stagnate your own individual ascension by energizing many beliefs. You wish to get out of here, and your straightest way to get out is to connect with what you feel is the creator of all time, the good creator, and that is essentially one of your ways to get out of here. And again, because so many more of you are becoming stronger and stronger with your creational abilities, your power to manifest, that if you keep energizing lesser beliefs, you will keep them as a part of your reality. So, these becomes your choice, and I'm not here to tell anyone what to do. I just offer the perspectives, and also the, different ways to look at it, and to, again, it becomes your choice what you wish to do, but there are ways to raise yourself up quicker, and that's what I purvey. And it depends on an individual level. Some are not ready for what I speak, others are, others agree, they already know it, and that's because there's so many levels of this ascension, which are actually uh, within a timeline, are levels of perspective as well. One of the first levels is breaking uh, the conditioning that was put there on the human blueprint. Like, it takes a lot to break that energetic way. You've got to change your actions, your reactions. You got to change everything with energetics to detach yourself from that control, and that suppression from the human imprint that is put there. And we also were wise enough to know that there is a resistance that you do contend with times here. And you can label it as dark or negativity, but it's a form of resistance that it seems like it doesn't want you to rise. But the way to overpower that, again, is to remain in your divine strength, and don't energize the negativity or the dark to any degree once you reach such a level. Now, negativity and darkness does play important roles in exiting these lower dimensions. Sometimes you need to be introduced to some of the more denser, heavier energies, so that you're able to master them and control them, but you're also able to learn from them. Everything is value. You are never in any harm. You are divinity. You do not die. However, you are playing something like a video game to get out of the dark level, to get up higher into the light level. You need to learn how to do that. So you need to play the game as well. And you just take value from any of this is what I always strongly suggest. However, yes, there are resistances here, but as you know, some of you could speak right now, you know that you were targets of what you said was darkness, but hey, no, you're still here. And you saw how you're divinely protected because you're divinely protected because of your connection to Creator, but also because of what you are is divinity as well. And that in reality protects you while you're learning here. Um, okay, divine masculine. You know, I've been looking at this topic, contemplating this for a couple months. We needed to take the divine masculine forward, and the best way to do that is not to directly confront the hindrances and the suppression to the divine masculine. Rather, put it out there, purvey another higher perspective that the masculine can look at to do the job on their own, to get out of there. When they're ready, the right things will be integrated, implemented here into the timelines that when they're ready, they will find them, that will assist them. But with this, see, we have two things playing out. We have a 4D timeline that goes on for about 68 years yet, where the patriarch and it remains a patriarchal sort of thing, and it ends in destruction. So with that, there's some souls that will be playing out a role on there. And also, having said that, you know, the divine masculine that are supposed to raise will. And for I am an ascension teacher and much more. And the most effective way that I've found of doing that is that you don't go out and club a male over the head and said, okay, you're a divine masculine, you're coming with me, here's what you need to know. It doesn't really work that way. It's that if there's a divine masculine that needs assistance, they will come to you, any one of you that's assisting with that. There needs to be the soul respect with this. Now, I know many of you are in relationships. The feminine, for the most part, are most advanced. And what occurs in these relationships is that the feminine will be with a male that they'll say that's not awakened. But again, you need to respect that soul's choice, and it's possible they may not be awakening. So to conserve your own energy and to not be exerting undue energy towards that, you need to reach a certain point of realization that, you know, if they're coming with you, that it's possible you could leave, and if they follow later that they come up, then you know it's great. But don't keep being drained, and this goes vice versa by toxic relationships. It just drains your energy, and it also holds you back from ascending, and the collective, the overall vibration as a whole, because if you're distracted all the time on trying to wake up your partner banging on their head, well, all of your energy is there, which your energy could be attributed to yourself, raising yourself up into another reality where your partner's already there and made it, and they don't have the work to do, hypothetically, because everything is possible with this ascension. And some of you already know that you have seen instances that overnight your family members have, like, they woke up. And it's because you're in different timelines. You may remain in the timeline where they're all awakened now, or you may drop back down and see that they flipped back, that they're not awakened some days. But the most important thing is that you had the liberty to see when they were awakened. So that means it is true that you did not imagine it. You saw, you were given the confirmations and the signs that it is so. So with the divine masculine, it was total suppression upon the masculine and the feminine with this. However, you can rise above all of it. So it's best for us, again, I'm just looking at some of the notes, to keep going higher. We cannot really spend time in exerting, putting a lot of energy into the masculine area by confronting it. We're better off creating the new and attract them to it. So having said that, it's good to put the ways for the masculine to begin to detach from the societal conditioning imprint. So if they got the information there, then they got choices that they can look at and say, okay, no, I can get out of this routine, matrix of a 9 to 5. They can free up time to uh, begin empowering themselves and to begin their journey to fit in with the ascension, with what some calls the new age, which is new age is a great term because, as you know, that is exactly what it is, and so it's great. So get the information out for them. It's best, what I'm seeing with the societal things like a marriage contract, and this will come up, like there should not be any marriage contracts. Anyone loves each other. You don't need a contract and a binding agreement that is written on paper, and that also is a hindrance. And this is also why, partially in the leading up to this now, that you had so many relationships dissolving, so many divorces and things. It's just because the energetics no longer permits for two to be in a union where they don't resonate. But it was all also designed from the societal aspect. The marriage contract, if you will, was also designed to suppress both parties, the masculine and the feminine, and to keep them in a constant battle at that level against each other. And it's not, again, there to serve a legitimate function. Um, on so many levels. That was not why it was there. A lot of it was there and endorsed and empowered because of the patriarch's fear of having to, let's say, hold on to a feminine. There's so many aspects with it, and it goes very deep. And just what I'm touching on is so much could be written about it. But what we enter is the control of another in a marriage contract where you try to control. See, with that, there is not respect of that individual, be it male or female, for the most degree. Sometimes there are harmonious relationships, marriages, but they are very real, as you know. And we are in the times where everything is changing on the 4D and the lower 5D lines with this. And so going forward, many things will change with this. And you've already, over the last 10 years on the mundane 4D timelines, you're seeing many relationships now, uh, uh, male and female, or even other relationships that there is no marriage contract. It's just being together, just living together, and that is more free, and they're not tied by an outside force. If they wish to exit a relationship, they're there to do it. That is part of their freedom, part of their sovereignty, which is being integrated as well, and where we begin to respect both anyone, male or female, on an equal level, which is so important in what we're going forward to in this ascension. There's not going to be in their near futures on these lower timelines a patriarchal rule, and there's not going to be a matriarchal rule. Anything less than equality and mutual respect will not go forward with higher timelines. It will implode because it's set up to do that. Anyways, great. I'll get off of that topic for now because I could be rambling on for hours with it. We're in 40 minutes in there. So chlorine, brought that out again, the bloating. What you may, with some of the, like there are maternal symptoms that ones have been experiencing, for the last several years, the quick body, belly swell up, like if you're 9 months pregnant, false births, all these are very real because they're indicative of new timelines being created, timeline shifts. Also, they are indicative of the feminine when they reach such a stage in their spiritual advancement and their connection with Gaia and with Prime Creator, then where that is strengthened, their energetic effects on creation and timelines is then equated into the physical. And I can get very deep on that, but I will not at this time. But having said that, all maternal symptoms are very real. But what I'm bringing up is that to not be confused with a maternal symptom, what I strongly suggest at this time for, I would say the more advanced ones within your vessels, but it's good for all to just observe, is if you're drinking any water that can have chlorine in it. Because of the advancement of your physical vessel, the chlorine is a toxic, as well as the aluminum from the chemtrails. And by the way, you've done an amazing job on eradicating the chemtrails over the last few years. It's so many blue sky days, which is very beautiful. But getting back to the chlorine, what you may wish to observe is that if you have it, or you may even wish to go out and just take a little drink of tap water and observe what happens to your belly and your digestive system. And the reason I'm saying this is because if you start to see immediate bloating within an hour or two after having some, chlorinated water, even though it's been through reverse osmosis, because it still carries certain degrees, it's not eliminated by reverse osmosis fully. It's always best to get very good natural spring water from a hill where there's nothing built above it. But having said that, it may be good, and if any of you listening do know this and can attest to it, please PM me so that I will have more examples to share with others how widespread this is beginning to be with the advancement of the physical vessel, where it cannot and will not tolerate any chlorine. Now, we also know that chlorine is added into white flour or white sugar, and some dyes, and as part of taking care of your human vessel, I know many of you know that you got to go to the raw sugar, raw cane sugar that is not processed, or with a flour that is not processed to the degree that the dyes are instituted into it. So again, with the bloating, the chlorine, please, anyone that is noticing this, let me know. And anyone that, if you're starting to receive that bloating by drinking the water you have in your place now, I strongly suggest to go to natural spring water and then compare the results. So it is important with certain ones of you in your development to watch this. Again, it can cause many discomforts because of how far you have advanced, and it's actually against what you are. And it also, when you have the DNA still evolving to create more of your light body, you do not want these sort of contaminants in there. And it becomes especially important with the water, because the water does go into every cell in your vessel. And that's why it's so important not to have the chlorine in your water. Now, as I said before, it's not as bad in your foods because your digestive system has been changed to pass it and funnel it out through. However, these human vessels still need water. It's very essential. So it's good to assure you have natural water. So thank you for that. And I got written here, less food is required for some, as I mentioned. Yes, you may notice this. Now, it was given uh, through orthodox medicine or whatever. Some of you may have found it that the older you get, the less food that is required. Uh, that holds true to a certain extent, but that's not what's occurring now. So it's important to distinguish between what would be a human logic and what is an ascension logic. Collective clearing, other groups clearing, effective. Yes, very great. So we did, the ones that I put out information for. We did a collective clearing of the negative residue, any negative residue overall. We did that. I did see other groups doing it, very effective. We did notice, as a result of doing this, what I did notice, and I and another just a few days ago, is that, yeah, the density was coming out, and we felt it as well, because we are, not only are we a conduit to put out light, we are also an empath to take the negativity and purge it and change the polarity of it. And we take it out of the 4D, if you will. So this collective clearing, you take it out, and part of your purging is when you take it within you to change the polarity of it to positive, and then that takes it out. So, for example, if you feel yucky on a day when your empathic abilities, where your empathic abilities are now enhanced and you feel yucky, if you, just begin acting happy and do something high vibration, this will go. And really, it does not go. Actually, what you have done when it does go is that you have changed the polarity of it. So then it resonates more with you. And this is thus, what you can call a purging process as well. But you're transmuting, you're transitioning the negative polarity from the masses. You're taking it through you, and you're changing the polarity. So you are a pain taker in that respect, again, like the Christ was known as a pain taker, and you have these abilities as well, and this is part of the process of how you do that. But again, this is very indicative, and it confirms. The other day, many felt this trough, if you will, because you were clearing for the collective, but also preparing for higher timelines, again, shifts into higher timelines. And having said that, we have the sun, which is very important. Any of you that's been following it can draw distinct parallels in the authenticity that it is connected with you and with your energy. So having said that, we have a nice, beautiful, empowering sunspot that is beginning to turn, which will emit light energy, the photonic higher quality energy, which is more positively charged for us. Now you do have negative emissions and you do have positive ones. The negative emissions are there to pressure the unawakened ones to get them to, let's say, stand up and say, no, I'm not going to work today. I had enough of this. So it all serves important purposes. So that could be a negative one. Now there are the positive light ones which come in to you, the conduits, which raises the overall vibration. So it looks like what is coming is a very effective influx of light over the next several days. It's already begun to come, so it's great. So very effective. Uh, Current ascension levels. There are so many levels within the ascension on timelines, and it's always best, as you know, to keep the highest vibrations. You keep on the highest level of the ascension at any given time. But you know, sometimes you do got to drop to go down to revisit things or to learn about them or to master them. So that's all good as well. But for the ones that you know you've got most of your inner work done, you know what and who you are, yeah, it's best to keep up on that top level where you're at and assist others that may be just awakening or others that perhaps just may need a hand to haul them back up, to keep everyone together in high vibration. So there are levels within current timelines, and you know I refer to them in this respect as you could look at them as ascension levels on the small scale. Ascension levels on the big scale are certain 5D, 6D timelines and higher. So, you know, there's the increments could be described in that manner, you know, dimensional levels instead of timeline levels. So great. Um, Again, I got written down Robin Haywood. She mentioned something about what she kind of received was a mothership in the Pacific the other day. And what I did is I was taking a yoga class and I was receiving some transmission from elsewhere, and the one word that come was Pacific. And I said I knew that's important. So when I come back yesterday, I saw Robin. Well, actually, I was by a divine comrade said perhaps you might be interested in this live by Robin and Todd Medina, and I did look at it, and she mentions about the Pacific, about the integration of a mother ship, and so that was very great. So with Robin. Uh, Her authenticity as a divine one, I wish to endorse her uh, as well. That you know she's the real deal as well. Now with messages, we get different messages sometimes, and you know as some put out, you know this is the perspective they're receiving and it can change in the future. So it's always good to use discretion and discernment in such a way that you take anyone that's channeling to take the information at a neutral level, but don't draw a conclusion on it or an assumption that would restrict it. Let it evolve because as we go higher, there are higher truths and more information to come, always. So, yeah, very grateful for Robin and what she shared. So several nights ago, there was downloads that come from a different area. I was also very grateful to see in Robin's diagram that several of uh, the downloads, the pictures, I received them in symbols that they were also present in Robin's diagram that she shows. That Todd puts up. It's probably around 8 minutes into the interview, if I recall correctly, or 7 minutes. That diagram, there were seven symbols I received, and also with Amanda Lawrence, I saw just I believe yesterday also in some of her diagrams, the same, uh, some of the same pictures I received in the download. I haven't seen yet in the download I received the other night, and this wasn't from Father, the download the other night. This was one from the consciousness, what was occurring that I needed to know. And one that I have not seen come out yet was a Sumerian hammer. And I'm just mentioning that here because it does uh, play relevance. So, um, or you could say Sumerian as well, hammer. But we don't wish to get caught up on what it means. But let me say there is some sort of a symbolic significance with that exact tool as well. I was sharing it with another, and she said kind of it's like a grid as well. So there's something else associated with that. It wasn't that download like kind of just it come through. I just happened to catch it. It was not entirely for I, but I caught many aspects of it and the information of that message, but not fully what it was. However, again, I am right here saying yes, that with Robin and with Amanda Lawrence and perhaps someone else, that I can attest to the authenticity also of what they were receiving because I also received it as well. With Amanda, one thing I noticed is that the download I received the other night, that when I happened to look at Amanda Lawrence's post, she actually had that out prior. So she had received that download one day before I had, which was very interesting. And this is the way it works sometimes. Um, so that was very great with that. 10, 10, your numbers 10, 10. They start popping up in the last few days. I suggest to, again, recheck the symbolic meaning of them. Now, because you're forever evolving from time to time when you have such symbolic things like doves showing up, 10, 10, cardinal is important at this time, to perhaps recheck again when you feel compelled to the meaning of what the symbology is. And the reason I'm saying this, as we keep going in higher timelines, there are higher perspectives and more enhanced meanings of these. For example, you might have looked at the symbology of an owl 20 years ago. It might have just said, well, it depicts wisdom, or it is to let you know, that perhaps you are wise. I'm just trying to keep this simple. But if you're to go to look up the spiritual meaning or the symbology of an owl now, you are going to find there's a lot more content there. That's because we're forever changing. And it's very important to, again, not to develop a preconceived notion that you or we or even I know everything at this level, because we do not. It's in constant change, and you're given more information. We all are as we go up higher into the timelines. So it's, but I will mention 1010, those numbers, and cardinals and doves again. Now, your numerical sequences, perhaps for many, um, over the last perhaps week or two, again, they've been more profound, showing up everywhere. One way, you don't need to be going on your phones every time you see a number and looking it up to see what it means. Once you've done that, a few years ago, what you recognize more so is the numbers is letting you know that you're in a heightened um, vibration, or you're on your most favorable timeline, to just keep following it through. It's more so it can become just more so an assurance that not to question yourself, even if you're seeing, double digits, um, sequences, numerical sequences. Do not think you're doing something wrong. Just recognize them. Say, yeah, okay, I'm still going along, even though something like kind of bad might be happening to you, what you feel. Really, it's not. So just keep going and don't question yourself and keep your trust with that in faith and go forward. Bye. Well, okay, it's been an hour. Any questions? Have a drink here and just answer a few questions. If there's any, I'll scroll to the bottom if I'm able to and just see what's out there. And by the way, thank you everyone for joining. Okay. Okay. Yeah, Bridget Wanningen. Yeah, do not look it up anymore. She's referring to the numbers. It feels quite in sync with divinity. Yeah, you don't need to waste time there on that. And it helps you also to keep your vibration raised. So it's good. Yeah, and our numbers are sticking out more and more, and just letting you know we're on the right path. But they're more prominent now than ever. I know what I've been seeing in the last few weeks. Everywhere you look, it's your numbers are there, and the 144 again. I just saw that now. I took a dog. Uh, a soul, which is in a dog, for a walk last evening, and it was very interesting. A house number that had 144 on it was where he paid a lot of attention to it, and it was only that one house during the walk. But again, it was important, the 144 number as well. So it was great. Yeah, Richard says angel numbers in the fields. Yup, you got it, bro. Oh, okay. The answers come on their own time, Angela says. Yeah, I do agree, but also there's some of us, that are here to facilitate ways to more readily get the answers too. So we assist each other with that too. But yeah, they do come on their own time. However, whatever way that you receive them, they come at the proper time. Indeed. So, any questions, or it doesn't look like much? So that's great. I've been on here an hour. I can take a break. I covered a lot because it was so much. 1212, Tammy Bazin is saying in the past weeks. In 444, yeah, I can attest to 444, 555, and 1212. Tammy, yeah, the 1212 is important as well. Uh, for my references, I'd like to say that's more uh, perhaps indicative of Mary Magdalene energy as well at this time. You may wish to look at that. So 1212 is important too. But I would associate it at this time more with Mary Magdalene, with whatever you may get out of that. Yeah, yeah. Linda says she don't need to look up the numbers anymore, memorize them. She sees 144 lots. Yeah, way to go, Linda. Way to go, girl. Yeah, I know what you mean. In the beginning, it was very useful, and it is guidance. So having said that, there are ones that will be awakening or that have just started to awaken perhaps now that may wish this. Your numbers are so important. And once you began seeing numerical sequences, yeah, indeed, Go online, search out what the angel number meaning is of them, or some spirit animals, look at the symbology. These are all guidance mechanisms to assist you. So, any news about Sandra Freedom? Any news about QFS, Rick? Excellent question, Sandra. Not really per se. What I can say is that we have locked in all of the grids now. There may be a nodule in Russia we may need to do in the near future. But what has occurred, Sandra, is that the overall vibration was dropped back down a level, and it gave the opportunity for many to attend to things that they needed to do before we could go forward. So we actually stepped back down, and many of us are just waiting for these ones to uh, do certain things so we can go back forward again. So where we stepped down, Sandra, the QFS, this stuff, it was not energized to the degree it was before. Where we were energizing it. It was trickling in. We were starting to receive confirmations on that it was so. But however, we could not go forward with it as a collective. So we had to come back down and ones get empowered back up so that when we go forward the next time, we can overshoot where we were at before. And it's all about vibration and about, the inner work needs to be done, and the alleviation of the effects of fear and negativity upon one. And these are all so important. So the QFS, it's sitting right there, Sandra, and we're right here. So, at any moment we can, with the rays of vibration, jump up into it again. There will be individual access to that QFS, but it's not as pronounced as it was before because the overall vibration did drop a bit. If that explains it for you. But everything is perfect in divine ways. So it'll be great. And everything that happens for an important divine reason. So, Stephanie Shamarul, toothache. Yes. What is a vacuum cleaner? Well, she's replying to Fleur, but I suggest if any of you have time to look up the Pink Panther cartoon about the vacuum cleaner. That's a very excellent one to look at if you wish to get a laugh. The vacuum. I think Pink Panther gets an Acme vacuum cleaner to start cleaning his apartment or whatever, and he got the nozzle. He starts sucking up the pictures off the wall and the furniture. It's a comical one. You might get a laugh out of it. I know I love it. I love the Pink Panther. He's awesome. So, good. Okay, Tammy. Tammy Brazen having trouble sleeping at times because of powerful downloads. Yeah, Tammy, there are periods when, yeah, you may have trouble sleeping, and you just do your best and get through with it. And what you will find, as you always do several days after the fact, you're normal again, so it has to happen. So my advice on that is, keeping in your highest vibration. Don't give your consent away. Stay in your morals and your ethics, but do not be taken advantage of as well, and to speak your truth. And that also gives you a more relaxed state for your sleep as well. And, with any of you, just fundamentally and from the human aspect, Don't go to bed unless you're tired. Don't try to go to sleep. Don't let the clock control you. Listen to your physical vessel. If you need a nap in the middle of the day, if you're able to, it's so important that you divinely take it. But like if you're up, let's say 12 o'clock in the night and you're not sleepy, well, don't try to go to sleep. Just do something that would feel perhaps better for you to do at that time. You don't let the clock control you, is what I'm trying to say. Listen to your body and you be your own control with that, is what I suggest. And you can do it. I know that. Okay. Yeah. Great. Love all of you guys. Okay, I'm going. I didn't have a cigarette for 1 hour and 11 minutes. There we go with our numbers again. So that's pretty well timed. Okay, there we go. Yeah, 1 hour, 11 minutes, and 11 seconds. So I'm going to go and have a break. And yeah, I'm still smoking cigarettes, but that's pretty well the only bad or negative thing really that I do, and I take good care of this vessel, but still smoking cigarettes, but that's the last to go for when I'm ready, when I'm supposed to. So it's great. So I love you all. Namaste, and thank you for joining. And yeah, it's been a long talk, over 2 hours between these two shows, but again, we covered such great ground, and there was a lot to refer to and to update on. But so this is kind of cleaning it up, what just occurred, and we got more new stuff that is also beginning to happen. And we don't always want to be stagnant. I don't doing the same old thing over and over. As Einstein says, that is the definition of sanity. So we need new things. And we need to share the new things, and that's how we create even more new things. And don't be suppressed by negativity and lesser thought forms and lesser beliefs. You are a creator, you are a part of God, you are divine. Let's create these good things beyond anything humanly imaginable, if you will. Or you know what I mean, anyhow. So I love you, and peace and kisses and winks, and let's keep going forward, see what we create in these next few days. Or I kind of feel it's heightened, so let's see what occurs. So I love you and thank you, and have a great day. Bye.